And the drama continues for sure. After putting the question to a vote on X, Elon says Tesla will move immediately to have a shareholders vote on moving Tesla to Texas. I'm assuming that the board and the shareholders will look carefully at the positives and the negatives of such a move, but I can certainly understand why there would be a desire to get out from under the thumb of this Chancery Court in Delaware. From Kanakawa the Great this morning on X, Judge Kathleen McCormick rescinded Elon Musk's $55 billion Tesla compensation package, overturning the company's board and 80% of its shareholders. McCormick also ruled against Elon Musk during his Twitter acquisition. Before becoming the head of the Delaware Chancery Court, McCormick worked at a Delaware law firm called Young Conaway. This firm and its employees have been major donors to President Joe Biden for decades. In 2016, Hunter Biden hosted a gubernatorial campaign event for Congressman John Carney, with then Vice President Joe Biden as the guest speaker. This event took place at the law offices of Young Conaway in Wilmington, Delaware. Carney, a close friend of Joe Biden for the last 4 decades, later became governor and nominated Kathleen McCormick, a partner at Young Conaway, to her position on the Delaware Chancery Court. In March 2018 email, Hunter Biden claimed to personally know every judge on the Delaware Chancery Court while threatening legal action against his Chinese business partners. I will bring this suit, this is a quote, I will bring the suit in the Chancery Court in Delaware, which, as you know, is my home state, and I'm privileged to have worked with and know every judge on the Chancery Court, end quote. After Elon Musk purchased Twitter with the stated goal of restoring free speech, President Biden called for a federal investigation into Musk on the podium at the White House. Okay. Anyway, following this, the Biden Department of Justice, Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission initiated legal actions and investigations against Tesla, SpaceX, and X. No bias here. This recent decision by Judge McCormick, who worked with Biden's top donors and was nominated by Biden's close friend to override Tesla's board and the majority of its shareholders, is another clear example of the Biden administration and its allies weaponizing the American legal system against their political opponents. Think Trump, anybody? Anyway, the ruling included commentary about Elon's wealth. This is me now. This is no longer him. This ruling included commentary about Elon's wealth, which should have nothing to do with the decision. It also includes a statement by the judge that she has no idea what fair compensation would be. The case seems to be filled with bias. The judge makes a number of claims regarding how she came to her final conclusion. In every single case, she comes down on the side of the plaintiff. Now, this list of 10 that I'm going to give you might include some legal opinion. Remember, I am a graduate law school, but I'm not a member of any bar. This is not legal opinion. This is my business opinion about legal matters. I need to say all that because, you know. All right, so claim number 1, that the very sophisticated and honorable members of the board of directors were both negligent and possibly intentionally irresponsible in agreeing to the pay package, and then failed to fully inform the shareholders of their relationship to Elon as friends or family members. In other words, this is disparaging about every single member of this board of the 6th or 7th largest corporation in the world, which started only 20 years ago, to rise to these levels. She crucifies these individuals like a couple within the Tesla community have done from time to time, even though the success of the corporation is unparalleled, probably in human history. Claim number 2, that a compensation package that is contingent. This is a contingent compensation package, and it was contingent upon goals seen by everyone, including the New York Times and other financial reporting, as impossible. So the compensation contingent, the goals impossible. How can that be unfair to the shareholders? It seems on its face impossible to be unfair if you cannot ever collect the reward. It's impossible to collect the reward. And it was in 10 tranches. So there was 10 different pieces of this that had to be accomplished to get to the $55 billion. And yet it's unfair. It seems to me absolutely on its face to be anything. It has to be fair if it's impossible to reach. Anyway, claim it was unfair to Elon, impossible to reach. Claim number 3, that the judge can look at this plan and just decide that because it's never been done like this before, that it's objectionable. This is a claim made by plaintiff's lawyer on Bloomberg last night, and the judge made this clear that one of the reasons why this is objectionable is that nobody's ever done it this way before. It's way over the top in terms of the numbers, and the only one that's even close is Elon's previous compensation plan, which he also made and which also benefited all the shareholders, the corporation, and the world, quite frankly. Number 4, that since Elon is already rich, this matters in figuring out how to pay him in the future. It doesn't make it, how can the fact that he's rich have anything to do with how you compensate him in the future? You have rich basketball players worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're going to pay them another $100 million? Oh no, why would you do that? Anyway, claim number 5, that since Elon has shared in the company, that this was that he has shares, he owns shares in the company, that this was compensation enough. This is another item stated by the attorney in the interview last night. How can the existing shares have anything to do with how you compensate the person who is running the company? It's 2 entirely different things. One is you put up your money or your skills or whatever it is in the beginning, and you got these many shares, and now you have these shares. That is that's the wealth that you've generated from own. He could take the wealth, he can sell all of that. Does that now allow him to get compensated because he sold all the shares in the company? No, what we want to see is people's skin in the game. Skin in the game in terms of his investment, and skin in the game in terms of the fact that he's willing to take these risks. Claim number 6, that the board did not do enough due diligence to determine if the package was reasonable. I would say that there was no reason for huge amounts of work on this. It was contingent on massive impossible accomplishments. The pay package only looks huge in hindsight. That's another point. It looks huge in hindsight, since Elon did the impossible and hit every goal. What if he'd only hit half? If this was only $22 billion, what if he hadn't hit any of them? Would there be a lawsuit right now complaining that Elon didn't hit it? I mean, this is a hindsight deal. It's 100% in the rearview mirror. Claim number 7, that the board was just like a rubber stamp going along with Elon. That's very likely probably correct. But if someone is as successful as Elon, the board of directors would give them way more rope than someone who's only marginally successful or failing to execute. This is normal. If I have 3 salesmen in the field and one of them's performing, I'm going to give him more rope. If the salesman that's not performing, he's the one I'm going to be hammering on to find out how I can challenge and change what he's doing in order to get him to be more successful. Anyway, claim number 8, that the proxy was not done properly in terms of informing the shareholders about the lack of independence of the board members. This is the only one which might have some methodological aspects that could be criticized, but the implication is that it was done intentionally. Moreover, this was broadcast in the news for weeks before the vote was taken, and there was plenty of information in the news and elsewhere that was talking about who the board of directors was. It's just crazy. Claim number 9, imputed. It was imputed. It was imputed that the shareholders were stupid and didn't know what they were voting on. The shareholders, the retail shareholders, are extremely actively interested in Tesla, unlike any other company in history, and they're very concentrated in their interest. And of course, the institutionals, they should know what they're doing. Claim number 10, that the lawyers for the defense, this is the claim that made by the judge. The lawyers for the defense didn't even provide evidence, provided no evidence on a number of issues that were critical to the defense case. Did these lawyers truly provide no evidence at all, or just not any evidence that the judge found persuasive? She did not say that. She didn't say they provided all this evidence, but it wasn't persuasive. She says they didn't provide any evidence at all. That sounds completely nuts to me. And if there was evidence available that these attorneys should have provided, then there might be a case against these lawyers for malpractice. Moreover, since this is a case in equity, the judge should have been had the curiosity to request more evidence. Is there more evidence that you can provide right now? The goal on this is not a gotcha. It's equity to the shareholders. This is not about us versus them. This is supposed to be about making sure that you and I as shareholders didn't get ripped off. And so the judge should have been more curious. Oh, well, okay, this is Randy Kirk. I'm done with that part now. I mean, this is an ongoing situation, which I believe we're probably going to pay lots less attention to for at least a little while the board decides what to do next. But I think it's important to get this on the table as to why the move to Texas. This is not a move to Texas because, gee whiz, we want to get Elon's compensation package done right. No, this is a move to Texas because you want to get out from under the thumb of this horrible Chancery Court. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit notify. Oh, by the way, I'm really, really close to 20,000. I'm like 200 and something away. If you would hit the subscribe button, even if you haven't hit it yet, I'm not sure why, but anyway, we need you to help out. Cathie Wood just released her annual report on all the technologies that they cover in depth, and I will be reporting on the robotics portion of that later this morning. So you're going to want to see that. So hit the notify for that reason. And then Bradford Ferguson will be joining us tonight, of course, as he does every Thursday night on Good News Thursday. Lots of reasons to hit the notify button. Join Patreon. Thank you so much for those who did join in January. We could certainly use a lot more folks helping to support the channel. All right. Market Watch says this morning, my favorite number, I wait a full quarter for this. Productivity advanced 3.3% in the fourth quarter, the government said, after a frothy 4.9% surge in the third quarter. The recent improvement in productivity is a welcome sign after it declined throughout 2022. Higher productivity is the secret sauce for the economy. When it rises, businesses earn bigger profits and workers reap bigger wages. Higher productivity also helps to reduce inflation. It is still too soon to say whether the recent trend is sustainable. However, productivity had been growing slowly for years before the pandemic. And that's where I'm going to end this because the rest of it makes no sense. Anyway, so the Fed mentioned productivity yesterday. You know, I've spent an entire show earlier this year talking about productivity because it is so critical. Productivity is what generates wealth. It generates wealth for corporations. It generates wealth for the people that work in the corporations. It generates wealth for countries. The more productive you are in any given one of those, the company level or the government level, the more productivity, the more wealth. So productivity jumping like this is, the Fed said it yesterday. This increased productivity is what has allowed us to grow the economy at the same time that you have got inflation going down. This is why early last year I said productivity will be increasing all through 2023 and continuing to 2024 because the economy is no longer trying to figure out how to get out of a mess. And when you're trying to get out of a mess, you don't have time to think about productivity. You think about getting out of the mess. And that is usually unproductive hours, unproductive time, unproductive decisions, like hiring thousands more people than you need because there isn't enough people out there. And so you're saying, oh, I got to get a bunch of people in here because I don't know how I'll get the next one. So those things happened all through 21 and 2022. That is being unwound now in 2023 and 2024. That's why you see these productivity numbers going up like crazy. In addition, we've got AI, which is going to have a huge impact on productivity, and coming are the robots, and nothing ever in history is going to have the impact of what the robots are going to have on productivity. You also have other breakthroughs, all the Cathie Wood things that we've been talking about. And this robotics doesn't just include humanoids. It includes lots of other robotics, and includes lots of, even the robo-taxi is a robot that is going to increase productivity. So we are coming into a period in history where productivity is going to be key. I will continue to talk about this. I think I will redo what I did on productivity before. I think I'll redo that for Sunday morning show. Maybe sooner, but maybe Friday afternoon show. I'm not sure, but I think it's important to go through this with in more detail, because if we get it right with regard to productivity, it's going to make all of us more wealthy including Tesla and Tesla shareholders. All right, let's go on here. The 30-year bond continues to rally this morning, which means yields are going down. And that means that the betting from investors is that the right interest rate is over 130 basis points lower than the Fed at this time. It also implies that those voting with their dollars and buying those 10-year bonds right now believe the Fed will have to lower rates sooner than they implied in the meeting yesterday, saying, we're not even talking about it for March. So most people now are saying May, June. Yields are now at 3.9% again. They just dropped like a rock. And so that means that a lot of people making money on bonds. Who suggested that the other day? It wasn't investment advice. It is an investment advice now. I think the yields are going to be going down under 3.7 again shortly, maybe even to 3.25, even if the Fed does not move. The inversion has also widened again to 50 basis points compared to the 2-year and 150 basis points compared to the 2-month. And we've now been in this inverted situation for 19 months. Now that suggests a recession is coming. I am still up in the air on that. I am going to be studying that like crazy over the next few days. And maybe on next week, we'll talk about more issues with regard, are we going to get into a recession? Are we not? And maybe I'll make a final conclusion. Right now, I'm 50-50. I think there's a 50% chance that we get into a recession by the third quarter. Gary Black has this note this morning. Concerns about commercial real estate loans reverberated across the globe after Japan's Azora Bank plunged 21% Thursday, saying it expects to post a loss for the fiscal year versus prior indications of a substantial profit. The bank cited higher U.S. interest rates and a shift to remote work accelerated by COVID-19. Yesterday, CBNY, Bank of New York, plunged 38% after slashing its dividend and increasing its loan loss provisions by $500 million. This caused the KBW Regional Bank Index to fall 6% Wednesday. And this from the Kobesi letter. Just in, Deutsche Bank to cut 3,500 jobs in an effort to reduce costs. This comes after the bank reported a 30% drop in its Q4 profit. The Fed removed language. Now remember, the Fed, this is me speaking again, now, not Kobesi. The Fed removed language in their statement yesterday that had previously been stating that the banks are in great shape. Didn't you find that a little troubling? Oh my goodness. And now, this morning, to add to all the drama, Truflation has dropped their prediction, their estimate of where inflation is to 1.44%. Sadly, there is no note explaining the huge drop from 1.97% yesterday. So it dropped 50 basis points in one day, over 53 basis points in a single day, and no note on that. Come on, Truflation. I mean, really, there needs to be a note. Just give us, by the way, this is, this is where it's coming out. Anyway, I'll look at this, and again, maybe I'll report this, if not at the noon hour today when I talk about Cathie Wood and robotics. Maybe that's something that we'll talk about tonight with Bradford. Okay, then, if you're worried about whether there's going to be a recession or not, initial jobless claims increased to 224,000 for the week ending January 27th. This is the highest level in nearly 3 months. This is way above the consensus of what economists that were polled. They had it at 214. You can remember just a couple of weeks ago, it was at 189 or something like that. And now we're at 224. That's a little, it's 1 week of data. We don't take 1 week of data, but it's important data. Attention will now turn. We got big news coming tonight. We got Amazon and Meta reporting today. Last night I jumped all over, I jumped over Mets for saying that Apple was reporting today. This is now saying Apple's reporting today. This news that I'm reading right now to you is saying Apple's reporting today. They normally report a week later, and I'm wondering who's right. I'll check on that one and let you know that. Well, we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so we've got Tesla now. Tesla has been moving around up and down all morning. It's up a 0.5 percentage point right now. And we've got the Dow Jones up 0.13, the NASDAQ up 0.66, and the S&P up 0.40. Let's turn those into dollars. That is the Dow up 50, the NASDAQ up 100, and the S&P up 19. Tesla's up 80 cents. And again, it's been up and down, but always in the green all morning so far. We've got all the Magnificent Seven up, also approximately in the same range, except for Microsoft, which is up strongly, up 2%. Actually, Meta almost 2% as well. So, wow, and Amazon up 2% as well, too. All right, I'm sorry, change all that. The Magnificent Seven are up much stronger than Tesla is this morning. And then the Cathie Woods are mixed, which is odd because the bonds should be helping the Cathie Woods go crazy. But let's find out whether that's still true. We're going to check here on the bonds and see where they are. We have got, so the bond is still at 3.897, under 3.9. That is the 10-year. And because I already gave you this information earlier, the 2-year is still at 4.221. So that's only down 0.6, a half a basis point, whereas the 10-year is down 7 basis points to 3.8. So that's what I'm saying. The yield is opening, the yield inversion is opening up again and has been for a few days now. Okay, let's take a look at oil. Oil is up 63 cents, still sitting in range, 76.49. Brent is at 81, still about where you'd expect it to be recently, at least, with regard to the comparison to Texas Intermediate. You've got natural gas up 0.29%. Nothing to concern yourself with there. Gold is down just a teeny tiny bit. 2065 is current sitting. The copper is down 1.34%. That's substantial. That might be in reaction to both the Chinese issues, the banking issues, and the larger job numbers suggesting, the economy is in worse trouble than we thought. The dollar is pretty much flat this morning, and we've got the Bitcoin down 148 to 42.6. Okay, we go back and take that second look at Tesla to see if it has moved any. Tesla is now at 000. It has dropped like a rock in the last couple of seconds, as have the markets. They're still all in the green, but everything now has taken a dip, except the Magnificent, well, some of the Magnificent Seven have participated in that dip. So Tesla is now underwater a little bit at 19 cents down. Something might have happened in the last couple of minutes, or maybe it's just some algorithms suggesting there needs to be a change in the trading. Okay, so remember, as mentioned, later this morning, Cathie Wood on robotics. Tonight, we've got Bradford Ferguson, and we'll be talking about all this crazy stuff today. And then you want to hit the like, subscribe, and notify. Please do all those things. Help the channel. We're growing like crazy, way over double last January's numbers. But of course, it is easier this time of year for me to double. And then finally, if you haven't bought your Cybertruck bottle opener yet, yes, the price goes back up today. I'm sorry, it's back to $25. You missed your chance. But $25 is still a really good deal on a very fun product that you can use as a gift, etc. And then we'd love to have you joining Patreon. Okay, that's all we got. See you later today, and it has been really, really great talking to you.